Welcome to the Prospective Doctor Podcast, where we will provide essential information for pre-medical students and those already in medical school. Listen each week for tips on how to improve your application and gain an acceptance to medical school.
Hey everybody, it's Dr. Flick. I'm one of the Master Advisors with MedSchoolCoach.com. So it's January 2019, which means we're about halfway through the 2018-2019 application cycle, and we're already starting to look forward to the 2019-2020 cycle. So at this point, you probably fall into one of three different categories. Either you applied in the 2018-2019 cycle and you've gotten acceptance, great, awesome, or you fall into one of other two categories. Either you applied in the current cycle and you haven't got any interviews or any acceptances at this point, or you haven't applied at all and you're looking forward and ready to apply in the next cycle for 2019-2020. So this particular segment is going to be entirely devoted to just those latter two categories. If you applied this current cycle and you haven't received any interviews or acceptances yet, now's the time to start planning for the next cycle. And if you haven't applied at all in the past cycle, but you're looking to apply in June for the 2019-2020 cycle, January is the perfect time to start that preparatory process. Now, there's just about a million things to do when preparing and deciding how to apply to medical school. And I'm just going to talk to you about one of them today, which is something that's often overlooked, and that's the specific way that you're choosing the schools that you're going to apply to. Most applicants are very well prepared to select their school choice based on the average GPA and MCAT for that school. What I want to draw your attention to today is the demographic factor, specifically how many out-of-state applicants does the school matriculate. Now, most private schools take anywhere from 50, 60, 70, 80% of their class from out-of-state applicants, which means it's not a really important factor. Now, when you take a look at state schools, on the other hand, they take often less than 50, 40%, some less than 5% out of state, which all of a sudden becomes an extremely important factor. Let's first take a look at why state schools favor in-state applicants. Mostly, schools are looking to recruit talent that's going to stay in the state. In other words, they want to take people and train them through medical school, residency, so then they can then serve as physicians in the state. So then why would an in-state school that takes a low percent of out-of-state applicants be interested in those out-of-state applicants? And the reason is basically two different categories. One is the applicant that otherwise has very close ties to the state. So they're not a resident of the state, but let's say they've got family that lives in the state, they work in the state, or otherwise intend to stay in that location. Then the other category that schools will be looking at are basically the out-of-state applicants that are extremely competitive. In other words, the schools want to attract top talent to their school. Let's expand on that last point, and we'll use the University of California, Davis as our prime example. UC Davis takes about 4% out-of-state applicants, and their average GPA is a 3.7 for matriculants and an average MCAT of a 511. That means if you're an in-state applicant, you're competing for 96% of the population, while if you're an out-of-state applicant, all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of candidates competing for a measly 4%. What that means is that now in that 4%, you have to be extraordinarily competitive to compete with that group. In other words, you're not looking to be just around 5'11", 3.7 to be competitive and stand out in this small category. You need to be looking at maybe 5'12", 5'13 plus, 3.8, 3.9 plus. So while UC Davis is a rather extreme example, it illustrates the point that to apply as an out-of-state applicant to schools that take a relatively low percent of out-of-state applicants, you need to be not just in their range, but highly competitive to stand a chance. All that to say that if you're not an extraordinarily competitive applicant, applying to state schools that take low out-of-state applicants is relatively low yield. For that reason, personally, I don't recommend that applicants apply to out-of-state schools that take less than 40% out-of-state applicants. So when you're preparing your application and creating your school list, don't forget to pay attention to that demographic factor. I've seen competitive applicants that were frustrated by rejection based on a poor strategy for managing that demographic factor. On the other hand, I've seen less than competitive applicants rewarded by taking a strategic approach to select the right schools for them. Stop on by the Med School Coach website, check out what we have to offer, and set up a general advising session with one of our great advisors. We can talk game planning, statistics, and designing a customized school list that really takes into account every single factor of your application, including those demographics. As one application season is wrapping up, another one is just getting started, so check back with us frequently to see what else we've been talking about. Thanks for joining in.
Our mission is to inspire, encourage, and inform students as you journey through a rigorous and intricate process of achieving your dreams in medicine. Visit us at prospectivedoctor.com for more essential resources in your medical school journey.